this is Ashwini. This is the fourth video in the storage series. Today we are going to learn about how to create a storage class, a persistent volume claim that a pod can use to request the storage, and then how to configure the pod using that persistent volume claim. So let's get started and let's try to understand this question. So we need to set the context in Kubernetes before we start attempting any problem. This is the same thing in Kubernetes exam as well. So this is the context, but we'll set that later. Let's try to understand the question first. Create a storage class named fast storage with a provisioner of no Kubernetes IO no provisioner and a volume binding mode of immediate. Create a persistent volume named fastpv CKA with a storage capacity of 50 MI using the fast storage class with read write once permission and host path temp fast data. Create a persistent volume claim named fastpvc CKA that requests 30 MI of storage from the past pvcka persistent volume using the fast storage class. Create a pod named fastpod CKA with Nginx latest image that uses the fast PVC CKA persistent volume claim and mounts the volume at the path /app/data. So let's try to do a list persistent volume claim and persistent volume. We don't have anything, and kubectl get pods. We don't have anything either. First we need to set the context, and let's try to do those commands again. Same thing, no resources found, and for pods as well. I'm sure there will be no resources. Okay, now we'll create a storage class named sorry, one second, I'm just closing the things. Let's try to go to Kubernetes docs and find a storage class creation. Let's grab this one. Now from the documentation you will get a lot of values that probably are not required for your question. So if you're not sure what to use, whether to use or not, my suggestion is just use the properties that are asked in the question and try to create it. If you get any errors, for example, for any properties that is a mandatory or required property, you will get an error. So, and if you don't, then you don't have to include those properties. I am getting rid of annotations, storage class, default class, and so what we are given here are name, the provisioner, and the volume binding mode, and I'll try to create it. I'll show you what I mean. This is provisioner, and I am reclaim policy is delete. I'll try to delete it, and because it's not asked, and I'll show you what happens. I know that it is a required value. Volume expansion, there's no value given, so I'm getting rid of it. Mount options, I'm getting rid of it, and parameters, I'm getting rid of it. The only other thing that was asked was volume binding mode. It is a wait for customer here, and I'm changing it to immediate. Now if I try to create the storage class, it actually created. Um, that's fine. kubectl get sc. So this is fast storage, Kubernetes IO, no provisioner, delete, and the volume binding mode is immediate, and volume expansion is set to false. That is good. Now let's move on to creating a persistent volume. Let's try to go to the documentation, try to find a manifest. So this is the manifest file. There are no labels, so I'll get rid of the labels. Capacity is 50 MI. Storage class is fast storage. Access mode is read write once. We'll leave it as it is. Host path is temp fast data. I'll try to create the volume now. Okay. Access mode controls is still it. Yeah, let's try to. Let's see. Now let's try to create the persistent volume claim. Storage class name is fast storage. We'll leave access modes as read write once. Storage is 30 MI. Now if we do kubectl get persistent volume and persistent volume claim, you see that it is in the status bound. Both of them are in status bound. Earlier when we did it, the status was available. Now it is bound. So even though there is no pod that is attached to the persistent volume claim, it is still bound. I think it is because the volume binding mode is immediate and not wait for fast consumer. Now this is the interesting part of the video where we create a pod that uses this persistent volume claim that we have just now created to request the volume from this persistent volume, and whatever this container is using it, it uses this storage, and it mounts the volume at the path app data. So this is a good example because it covers all the concepts of right from the storage class, creating a persistent volume, a volume claim, and then using the pod to use the persistent volume claim to use that persistent volume. Let's create the pod. It should be an example here as well. So yeah, I think we'll use this same example. Name of the pod is fast pod CKA. And the name of the volume that will be created, that is specific to this container, can be anything. You can give either the same name of the volume if you want to. I'll just give the same volume name, or you can give any name, actually it doesn't matter, but the claim name has to be the same name because that is what we're using to request the volume. And they haven't specified any name for the container, just for the pod. I'll just say for fast pod container, and the image is Nginx, but we have been given a version as well, Nginx latest, so make sure you use whatever is asked in the question. And there's no information about the port, so I'll remove this section. And volume mounts is important because that is where you will mount the path, and that is app data. Now the name is this name. Because that's the name of your volume. Let's try to create the pod. kubectl get pods. Now we'll just describe the pod. Oh, it's still pending. Get pods. Still pending. Let's just describe the pod and see what the issue is. Okay, that is the issue. That's fine. I think the name of the persistent volume is wrong. So if you see, I have used a try to delete the pod. and create again. So it's running now, which means our container is created. Let's try to describe the pod. So this is the name of the container. It is using the image Nginx latest, and it is using the volume fast PV CKA, and what else? Yeah, the mount point. It is mounting, and the container is mounting the volume at app data / app data, and it's running. So let's try to check. This is the solution to the problem. Let's try to check and see if that works. Yeah, the validation is successful, and that's how you configure a pod to use a persistent volume claim to request a storage from a persistent volume. That's all. Thanks guys. See you in the next video. Bye.